here I am, I'm in my role. The sort of headlines when I was announced into this role, oh, you know, first female for 300, and I think at that time, 326 years. I've got to sort of be the face of the woman in the city. Then comes along, say, a label as being bisexual, and then I feel I have to be a role model for a whole other community. And all of this just takes pressure, and you don't want to fail any of them. So I grew up in what was a very small market town in those days, and in a very, I suppose, sort of happy family environment. I was very sporty, always liked doing sport at school, but I was also a little bit of a rebel, perhaps not wanting to always conform with everything. And I can remember going off on long cycle rides on my own, being a bit angry with the world because it seemed to want me to behave in a certain way and do certain things. I think the first time I really remember a role model was when I was on my trip around the world, and I was in Australia, and I was there working for the BBC, and the manager there was a woman. And I'd come from the city of London at that time in the 80s, where there really were very few female role models. And it was just normal that she was the manager. She was treated as the manager, not the woman. I don't remember the first time I told anyone I was bisexual. In fact, I'm not sure I have ever told anyone that. And I would have said that's a relatively recent categorization of myself that I've come to terms with. I thought I was heterosexual, so the only battle I was faced with in the city in the 80s was the fact that I was a woman in what felt like a predominantly male world. And then I had a relationship with a woman, and I thought, gosh, well, now I'm a lesbian. I never anticipated that I would then have perhaps another relationship with a man. I never thought then, when I went back to a man, that I was then going to have another relationship with a woman. It's a very, very, very complex world, and I'd never talked, or at that time, never talked about the topic. So therefore, I never really actually put that label on myself. And then I'm now married with a man, and I would have people saying, well, aren't you just now heterosexual? I want to do what I can to encourage all sorts of diversity. And what I can talk about is being bisexual. And it was really people coming to me and saying, you could help others, you could be a role model, that I thought, I can do something here. I would have said we've got quite a long way to go to reach others and allies. The environment's really changing. When I was working here in the 80s, you know, there wasn't a clothes shop for women. You couldn't buy anything here. Now there are shops. It feels much more modern, vibrant, so much more varied and much more diverse. Understanding the business benefits, there's a huge understanding of that now. It's giving people an environment that's safe, that they can talk about it, but in some ways business leaders can force that dialogue. The whole ambience of the city, the way it's just a much more modern, vibrant and alive place. For myself, it's been a complex journey and still continues to be. It's just that, you know, I've fallen in love with various people throughout my life.